I'm Timotab, and today I'm going to solve Snug Between Lines by Allagem. If you would like to try this puzzle for yourself, it'll be the first link in the description. Let's have a look at the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply, so we're going to place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, every column, and every box. Snug Between Lines. Digits on a line between two circles must have the values between the digits in the circles. Each circle digit must be consecutive with at least one digit on the line. For example, 27358. So it's 2, 7, 3, 5, and 8. That is a valid fill for a snug between line because 2, and there's a 3 which is consecutive with 2 on there, 8 which has a 7 consecutive with it on there, and all three of these digits are between 2 and 8. Okay. Note, if a circle belongs to more than one line, it must be consecutive with at least one digit on each line. So if this were the case, I would need a 3 on here somewhere, and I would need a 3 in one of those. All right. Let's restart the puzzle to reset the timer. And let's begin. Okay, so first of all, these 3 digits need to be a consecutive set of 3 digits because this digit has to be consecutive with both ends because there's only the one digit in the middle. But if I had a 1 on one of these, it would have to be 1, 2, 3, but I can't do that. And I can't do that over here either. I also can't have a 2 in a circle, because again, I'd need to go through a 3. So this must be a 1, 2 pair. Now, these are 2 sets of 3 consecutive digits, so one must be 4, 5, 6, and the other must be 7, 8, 9. So these 2 digits are 5 and 8. So let's have a look here. If this is 4, 6, then it would have to go a 6 here and a 4 here, and then the 4 would have to go down, so I'd get a 2, 3 here and a 1 here. That seems reasonable, because it can't go up because of the 5 there. Otherwise, it's a 7, 9 pair. And if this were a 9, then I'd get 8, 7 there, but I'd need another 8 here because that's the only digit consecutive with 9. So that can't be a 9, and therefore that can't be the 7. Okay, over here. If it's 7, 9, then it has to be 9 this way, and 7 there. That would be an 8, but I would need an 8 in one of those 2 to be consecutive with 9. So this is not the 9, 7 pair. That is a 4, 6 pair. That is now 5. That makes this 8, and this 7, and this 9. Okay. If this is 6, I think that's the more, yeah, this is the more restricted set because 7 has to go down and it's going to have lots of options there. But 6, 7, 8 pair there, 9 there. So that can't be a 6, that has to be 4, that's a 2, 3 pair, that's a 1, and that's a 6. These 3 digits are 7, 8, and 9, and that one is not a 9. All right, over this side, I have to have a 6 on there to be consecutive with the 7. I have to have at least one more digit there. Next digit available would be a 5. So that is at most a 4, but it can't actually be a 4. And it can't be a 1, so that's a 2 or a 3. In fact, by Sudoku, I've got 2 and 3 in those cells, which is curiously important, because if that's a 2, then I need a 3 on this line to be consecutive with it. But my 3 is over here instead. So that is not a 2, that must be a 3. This must be 4, 6, And that 1 is now there, and this must be a 2-5 pair. Okay. So this has to be the high digit and this the low digit, because if this were 7, say, and I tried to go up, I can't be a 9. The highest that can be is an 8, and therefore there would be no room for any digits there that are between 7 and 8. So this is absolutely the high digit. If it's as high as possible, that's a 9. That would give me potentially, well, a definite 8 there and potentially a 7. So the highest that this can be is a 6. But it can't be a 6, and it can't be a 4, and it can't be a 3. So that's 1, 2, or 5. Okay, if this were a 1, I would need a 2 here and a 2 here, and that's not going to work. If this were a 2, I'm going to need a 3 in one of those two, and that's not going to work. So that's a 5. Now this has to be a 2 to be at least, to be not be the same. So I've got room to put digits in. This must be 3 and 4 because of this 5, and we know the order because of this 4. This is a very nice puzzle. I really like it so far. So this is a 5. So these have to be from 6, 7, and 8. There is a definite 6 there. And I need another digit, so that can't be a 7. So the 6 is because of the 5, and then the 7 or the 8 will produce 8 or 9 there. Okay. And that too makes this a 5. All right, where to look next? So this digit here, because of this 9, what's going on there? Well, I can't have a 6 on here because of this 6. Therefore, I need a 4 on here to be consecutive with the 5. And that means that this has to be low and has to leave room for a 4 and another digit. But it can't be a 3. Well, it couldn't be a 3 because that wouldn't leave room anyway. If it were a 2, I'd need a 3 here, which doesn't work. So this is a 1. And that places a, that makes that a 2-4 pair. I now need a 2 into one of these 3 cells, but all 3 of those cells see that one, so that's a 4 and that's a 2. That's not a 2 because of this. That's not a 2 because of that, so that must be the 2 for this one. And then the only place for a 2 now on this line is here. That resolves my 3 and 2 up there. This is going to be the high digit. Now those 2 digits could be the same. So, but let's see. This can't be a 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, or 9. So that is 6 or 8. Okay. So if this were a 6, that would have to be a 5. That could, hang on, wait. If this were a 6, this would have to be a 5. It's because I need a digit that is consecutive with the 6 that's below it because of the 1 here. That would be a 5, and then what would this digit be? It would need to be from 2, 3, 4, and 5, but it can't be 2, 3, 4, or 5. That cannot be a 6. That is therefore an 8. I now need a 7 on this line. That has to go here. And now this has to be between 2 and 8, and it can't be a 2, 3, 4, could be a 5, could be a 6, can't be a 7. So that is a 5 or a 6. Okay. These three digits appear to be a 7, 8, 9. That gives me a 7, 8, 9 triple in the row. That makes that a 4, 6 pair, and in fact, this 4 tells me the order. That makes these 5, 7, 8, 9. This 2 is looking up. That's a 1, and that's a 2. So I have a 1 in one of those two. What next? I need a 2 in this set of 3 digits because of these 2s. Can't put 1 here. If that were a 2, one of those would have to be a 1, which they can't be because of this one, so this must be a 2. That means that I have a 3 in one of those 2. Okay. This must now be a bigger digit, and if I had a 4 in here, that could be as little as 5. So that is at least a 5. It could be a 6. Could be a 7. No, it can't be a 6. It can't be a 6, because if that were a 6, I would need to have a 5 on here. It could be a 7 with a 6 down here. That can't be an 8 because there'd be a 7 down here. That can't be a 9. That's actually very restricted. Okay. So this digit has to be at least a 5, I think. So I can't put a 2 here. So 3, in fact, 3, 5 are the minimum digits I could put here. So that's now at least a 6. So if that could be a 6, that could be a 7, which would place a 6 down here. It could be an 8, which would place a 7 down here. And it could be a 9. Those all seem feasible right now. All right. Um, 2 is in one of these two by Sudoku. I do need a 7 in one of those two. That could still be here. What are these digits? I need a 1, 4, 5, 6, and 9. That seems a lot. There must be something a little more obvious. Okay. 9 can't go there. Could go in any of those. Well, I need a 2 in one of these two cells, and it can't be that one, so it must be this one. That's a 2. That means that's not a 2, and that is. Okay. All right. Where does 8 go in this column? That's a really good question. And it can't go in either of those two because of that 8, and it can't go there, so that must be an 8. That means that this is a 7, and that means this is a 3-6 pair, and we know the order. That 6 makes this a 5. This 7 removes 7 from here. And in fact, if I had thought about it, I wouldn't have been able to put 7 on there, sorry, 6 on there, so that couldn't be a 7, because of the 6 here. 6 is in one of these 3. Right, these 3 digits are 1, 4, and 9. I think. 1, 4, 9. That is not a 1. So that's 1, 4, 6, or 9. Oh, this 6 is looking up. That's a 4. That's a 6. So this is 1, 4, or 9. That's now no longer a 4. That's a 1 or a 9. That makes this a 1 or a 9. That 4 means that that's not a 4. And these two digits must be 5 and 6. And we know that one of those two is a 6 because of this 5. So that's a 5 and that's a 6. So this is from 1, 7, 8, 9 for the row, but not 9. 1, 7, 8. One of those is a 6. All right, where next? 4 is in one of these two cells. Three is not there. So 3 is in one of these. That seems very reasonable. 6 is actually in one of those two. Right, what are these 4 cells? They are 1, 3, 6, and 7. That's not a 1 or a 6. That's not 3. Nope, that's not very helpful. Right, if this is 6, then I need a 5 here. How does that seem? That would have to put a 5 here. And that being a 6, this would have to be a 3, I think. So if that's a 6, that would be 5. that would be 3. If this were 8, this would be 7, and this could be, that would be 3. That's interesting. If this were 9, this would be 8, and then that has, that could be 3 or 5, I think. So does that mean that 3 has to be on here anyway? No, because that could be a 5. Okay. Yeah, it could have 5, 8, and 9. Is there any issue with that? I don't think so. Okay. That's pretty much my last between line I have to figure out. I've got a little bit to work out up here. So maybe I need to do some Sudoku. That seems like a good plan. Question is where to look. Okay. These 3 digits are from 1, 3, 6, 8, 9. 1, 3, 6, 8. That's not 1, 9, or 6. That's 3 or 8. That can't be 1 or 9. That can't be a 1 or a 6. Oh, that can't be a 6. That gives me a 3-8 pair. That's unexpected. So that's not an 8. That's a 9. That makes this a 6. Now this can't be an 8. So that has to be a 3. I need the 5 on here. That 3 makes this an 8. That makes this a 1. That makes this a 9. So that's not 9. Now one of those two is a 9, so those are not. And I need a 9 in this column, which has to go here. That displaces that 1. That makes this a 6. And now these are 1 digit different. So there is definitely an 8 in one of those two. In fact, that 7-8 pair makes that a 1. 1 comes out of those. This 9 makes this a 1. That's a 4-9 pair now. These 2 digits are 7 and 8. And I don't think I know the order. This 5 is looking up. That's not a 5, and that one is. This is 3, 7, or 8, but it's not a 7. So that's 3 or 8. Okay. This 8 is looking up. That becomes a 7. That makes that an 8-9 pair. That now becomes a 7. That becomes an 8. Very nice. That becomes a 7, forcing this to be the 8 because of the consecutive rule. So that's a 9. That makes this 8 and this 9. Okay. That's not a 6. So this is a 6 in the row. These 3 digits are from, well, the 1 in this column has to go here. I need a 9 in the column. That has to go here. And then this digit must be a 5. That looks about right. So 9 over there makes that a 4, and that a 9. So these two digits are 3 and 7, and that 7 tells us the order. These two digits are 4 and 5, and we know the order of those. This 8 is looking down. That's a 7. That's an 8. 3 and 7 there. That makes this a 3. And these two digits are 4 and 8, and they go in here and here. Fun fact, if not for the snug condition, this puzzle would have exactly 1,622,058,195 solutions. Don't ask why I know this. Okay, I will not ask why you know that, Allagem, but it seems quite interesting. Yeah, it seems that having the snug condition on the between lines is a very powerful constraint. I really like that. I often struggle with between lines. So yeah, having that additional constraint was very, very nice. I really liked how the 3 forced the 1, 2 here, and those were the appropriate runs of 3 digits. And how this 9 forced this to be the 4-6 pair. That was really nice as well. And I think my other thing was, oh yeah, coming down here and that topping out at 5, but the lower digits didn't work because of the one of those being, yeah, repeated digits either here or here, and then the 3 potentially down here. So yeah, that was all very nicely done. I like the layout, and yeah, I really enjoyed that. Well, if you enjoyed this solve, then please hit the like button. You can subscribe to see some more, and I would love to hear your comments. I'm looking forward to next time. Be seeing you.